Welcome to another episode on our channel. I think this is the last of the Stainless Stand series, last of the how-to. I'm not going to make a promise because when I made this thing, this workbench for her months ago, I kept saying, "Well, this is going to be the last one," and it just sort of kept going. Things that you could do to tweak it and to add to it. So I learned from that to not make any steadfast promises. So what did not work? What did not work in my estimation, and remember, this is hardly a controlled experiment. You may have more success with the products I say don't work. What did not work for me, let me put it that way, what did not work for me was hot glue. And I don't mean this hobby hot glue stuff either. I mean the good hot glue that you get in the hardware section that uses I don't know, like a half-inch stick. It's supposed to be permanent, or at least semi-permanent. It was this one. When I hot glued this to a magnet, it didn't stick to the plastic. Stuck to the magnet, okay. No, I take that back. It stuck to the plastic. It didn't stick to the steel of the magnet, the painted steel. Um, the magnet thing, like this, that was really my first go at it, and I just not terribly happy with the results. It was kind of a heavy-handed thing to do. Um, Speaking of magnets, put this guy, you know, now here I am saying I don't like it and I'm not going to use it, but guess what? I decided to glue this guy from the last episode. I decided to glue him to a magnet. What happened is that this stuff, this wide tape, did not stick to this white pine board. I did have it at an angle. It wasn't much of an angle. It was probably about 15-degree angle or so. Um, but it pulled loose. It's entirely possible that the tape that made contact with the board was weakened because I touched it. If you've seen the previous video, I couldn't get the thing off my hand. It's just like Velcro, it wouldn't let go. And I suspect it's possible that the oil on my finger made it not sticky in some places. Have I tried to reattach it to the wood? No. Will I? Maybe if I have a real case life, real life. Oh, I can't even talk tonight. I'm sorry. If I have a real life scenario in which she wants to do one of these things and put it on just one foot, like that, like a dynamic pose. Um, a viewer chimed in fact, at least a couple of you, suggesting uh, some pretty good alternatives to, if you're going to use a 1 foot, to run a coat hanger down the leg and down to the base to give it just a little bit of extra support so that it's not torquing over where it's mounted to the tape. Um, that's actually a pretty good idea. I just need to find a wire coat. Have you looked for a wire coat hanger? Every time I go anywhere to look for coat hangers, I like wire coat hangers. I haven't seen one in ages, at least not one not worth buying. So it used to be a pretty good source of cheap, bendable, tough wire. They're all plastic now. But anyway, I digress. This guy, this middle guy here, doesn't weigh anything. And I use these little dots, adhesive dots. I use two of them, one for the front of the foot, one for the back, and kind of cut it around the edge. These work pretty good. But again, this figure doesn't weigh anything. See, was it this figure or that one? Yeah, this is the figure that doesn't weigh anything. So I'm not surprised it's still standing. I got both feet attached, and so it works pretty good. Plus, this wood is a little textured compared to the white pine, so it gives the tape something to grab. So let me set him off to the side over here. Okay. And that brings us back to the white pine. Got a Fison body. These things I don't see using 1 foot, possibly even with the coat hanger wire support, doing one of these things. These things are top heavy. Now, I had mentioned in a previous episode that this weighed as much, just like an ounce or two less than a Fison. Well, where I screwed up was, and I didn't know at the time, is that I was comparing it to a female Fison. These male Fison bodies are substantially heavier. These things weigh a good pound, pound and a quarter. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was, and I weighed it. I just forgot. But they're heavy. And not only are they heavy, they are top heavy. So you got all this mass above the center of gravity, and then you're going to put stuff on him as well. If you're going to put weapons or armor or whatever, the doggone thing's going to get heavier still. So as far as I can see, you can still maybe do this because the legs are nice and stiff. But honestly, I use both feet, plant both feet on the ground if you're going to do it. Maybe leaning against something too, because it's really heavy. In fact, this weighs 4 ounces more. That's right, it is a pound, because this weighed 12 ounces with the stand. So the stand and the figure together on the scale is 12 ounces. That thing alone, 16 ounces. I know a pound doesn't sound like much, but it's kind of torquey. You're putting 1 foot-pound at least, when you're leaning this thing over. So I know I'm kind of rambling here. Okay, so again, I would not use this white pine or a smooth surface with this sticky tape. If I did use it, I would, where the foot met contact, I would probably checker it somehow. Maybe take out a knife and make little real close dots. So it's got really, really something for the tape to sink into. One of you noticed I was pushing really hard. When I put this was on this. Well, this has tread on it, like Vibram lug soles. And I wanted that tape to go up into those. That's the reason I was pushing so hard. I didn't have to push hard. I did, so that tape would go up in there. And plus, I was shooting. I was shooting a video, and I didn't want to have to do a repeat or let you know that this failed really spectacularly. So I just due diligence. I just pressed really hard. So if you're going to use Vibram, or excuse me, if you're going to use a TB League body, especially if you got it all decked out, especially if you got a really expensive head on it, that you use the tape or one of these other methods at your own risk. I'm not going to guarantee it's going to hold over time. So let me put this big guy over here. As to the magnets, let me get rid of this too. All right, I put him back on a magnet for one reason. I wanted to see how these shoes would stick to metal. The tape stuck really, really well to the plastic. And, when I had it on that white pine board, it pulled loose from the board. But it seems to be doing really well. The metal I'm talking about, I don't know if you can see it underneath there. There is a black magnet attached to the silver magnet. And this tape is underneath this shoe and sticking the shoe to the metal of the black magnet. Circumstantial way of saying this stuff would appear to stick well to metal and stick well to texturized plastic. What it will do to texturized plastic over the long haul, I have no idea, not a clue. One of you suggested I do a longitudinal study and just stick a piece on it to see if it'll come off after a year. And if I can persuade her to sacrifice a boot or a shoe or something, I'm going to do it and put a note on my iCalendar letting me know a year from now to peeled the tape off and see if it's damaged the plastic. Now you can't infer from that that it's going to be safe from all plastics. You just can't. All I can say is it will be safe or it will damage whatever kind of plastic that I had it adhered to. But I like the idea. Norwegians seem to come up with pretty good ideas, and you know who you are. Okay, so magnet, not crazy about the solution, but frankly, I was out of shoes like this. Oh, and that's another thing. This will not work well if you use a heavy body with these double skinny peg things because there's too many pivot points. So you got a pivot point here, and then you're going to have a pivot point here, and that's going to make the body. It's going to make it entirely too unstable at the foot. So don't use a body, or if you do, find one that's really stiff. Let me rephrase that yet again. I had trouble using a plastic body that had these really long foot pegs. Look like a kind of like an old school dumbbell. It's just too much opportunity for the thing to bend. What I used instead was these shoes had a hole in them, and that hole would accept the single ball type of thing. Obviously, this isn't a TB league, but the same principle involved. All right. Now, this tape, you can go back here. And I'm going to talk about one thing that I think deserves honorable mention. And it's this stuff. It's called museum wax. Curators and museums have been using this stuff for time immemorial. All it is just kind of like a beeswax almost. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. No, actually, it's not beeswax. I'm trying to find the list of ingredients. Microcrystalline wax. I don't know what it is. All I know is it's been used forever. Um, does it work? Will it hold something in place? Yes, we actually are one piece of antiquity, which is a Greek vase from the 4th century, is held um, to a small display board that I made up. I forgot what I made it out of. Maybe mahogany. I can't remember. With this stuff, it is, what's the brand name? I think it's called it's just called museum wax. This stuff is really, really, really old. Um, I mean, like 30 years old, believe it or not. And as long as you keep the lid on it, I don't think it'll ever dry out. And the longer you leave it on, the longer it'll stick. Generally speaking, it won't leave a residue. I'm pretty sure it'd be plastic. It's just a guess. It's a hunch. Let's put it that way. That it'd be okay for plastic. Problem is, and the reason I'm not going to use it, is that it is temperature sensitive. As long as everything is room temperature, this stuff will probably will do a decent job. When a leaning figure like this, it's really cool stuff. This meant in case there's like an earthquake or something, 5,000-year-old, piece of porcelain doesn't go traveling off the edge of a table, or some stupid intern doesn't bump it because he's like a bull in a china shop and kills something that survived. It's been around since the time of the Caesars. But bottom line is it works, but it's temperature sensitive. So take that as a fair warning. So that was a little rambling, a little circumstantial. What am I going to use? I'm going to stick with this stuff, and I'm going to try it again on the smooth wood. I'm pretty sure the little dots is the same material. I can't be sure though. If it's a heavy piece, I'm going to do this. You're going to keep both feet on the ground. I probably won't go through and, well, I know she won't go through and eliminate all her stands just to use this stuff. Um, it is highly unlikely that she will use it on, say, a Hot Toys figure that she paid a lot of money for, and with the hope and speculation that this won't do anything to the bottom. Sorry, my cat was getting ready to jump up. But with the hope and speculation this won't do anything to the paint after a year or two or five or whatever. She's probably just going to stay with with a crotch stand or a waist stand. You know, again, what you do, you assume the risk on your own. So, but I can see her doing this with a custom figure, where she just got a few bucks into the boots, maybe not 100% in love with the head figure in case it does fall over after time. So again, what you do is up to you. I hope you've liked what you've seen. I hope that you found the series helpful. I know I learned something. I know I'm going to do a longitudinal study. If I can find some wire hangers or similar kind of wire, that's a real possibility in making a stand. Use this stuff and support the other stand by running the wire up the leg and attaching it to the stand out of view. It's a really good idea. So that's what we're all doing. We're all learning from each other. So with that, I hope you've liked what you've seen. If you have, consider giving us a thumbs up and hitting the subscribe button. In the meantime, everyone, have a good night.